Welcome to another episode of Truth and Courage Under Fire. You can see that we've got Philip back in the house today, overcoming his extended illnesses. What happened there, buddy?
Oh, man. Got hit with the flu, got hit with a cold, got hit with a cough that would not leave, even in Jesus' name. But it's gone. So.
Yeah. Gee. Just in time to visit the relatives for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, give it to them, right? Yeah. No, it's all gone and everything's good. I'm back in action. So here we are.
Yeah. Well, speaking of illness.
Oh.
And we're going to jump right into a little tidbit, a little historical thing here, and then maybe talk a little bit about the latest and greatest on COVID and COVID vaccines. And it begins with, I asked you once before, but you can tell the audience and confess your sins here. Did you know who Typhoid Mary was?
Absolutely not.
Okay, well, here's some more history, and if you don't remember history, if you don't study history, you are doomed to repeat it.
Doomed to repeat it.
Well, there's this lady at the turn of the century, in 1906, an Irish immigrant lady named Mary Mallon came from Ireland to become a cook, housekeeper, like an au pair kind of thing even,
right.
Looking after kids. So she went and started this future in America as an immigrant in Long Island. Well, at the time, there was a virus going. It wasn't a virus. It turned out to be a bacterial infection, but it was called typhoid fever, and there was not good treatments for it. The death rates from typhoid fever in the United States ran anywhere from 10 to 30%, depending on circumstances. And it turned out that Mary Mallon, everywhere she went, when she was gone, she left behind people that contracted typhoid fever. So the newspapers and the media, they eventually tracked her down. She went from Long Island to Manhattan. She went to New Jersey, and everywhere that Mary went, it wasn't the lamb that followed it. Right. There was a typhoid fever that followed. And they tracked her down, and they locked her up for like 3 years. She got to the United States like 1906. In 1907, they found her. They locked her up until 1910. And then they made her swear that she would never cook and never housekeep again and stay clean. Hygienically, the best way to treat it at the time was wash your hands, wash your face, and stay clean. And she didn't do that.
So this is a beautiful story of Typhoid Mary, but why are we talking about Typhoid Mary today?
Well, Typhoid Mary was a carrier. I mean, she died years and years later. She carried typhoid fever and could spread it to anybody during that course of her lifetime, which expanded, I think it was another 25 years. Wow. So they had to lock her up because she was going to do. Well, guess what's happening today? I said we were going to talk about COVID and vaccines.
Right.
The studies are now out and becoming quite clear that when you get go from the third to the fourth booster of this vaccine, which I don't think you should get any of the shots, but when you go from the third to the fourth booster, it turns out that you become even more susceptible to contracting COVID. It's a negative response to what's going on here. And the problem is that the relationship, the similarities with Typhoid Mary are that all the vaccine does is make you feel better.
Right.
You can still contract it, you can still spread it, but you feel better while you're doing it. So people who are ill, like typhoid, or carriers like Typhoid Mary, can just walk anywhere they want and spread it. It's crazy. And to back that up, I've got some...
let me stop you here for a second.
Sure.
So you're saying, because a lot of people think this whole thing is over. Right? They think, they think that the vaccination requirements are over. They think that COVID is over. No. It's free living now. But you're saying we still have some really big issues that we need to be concerned about.
Yes. I have my... one of the things that I saw was that Yale University, for example, is requiring all students on campus to be vaccinated. Administratively, they're going to discharge you. They're going to kick you out of the university if you can't prove that you're up to date with your shots. You have your own issues.
Right. I had a lady who came to me this week who told me about a school that she's going to in Atlanta where They told her it was required. There are no exemptions. And so she tried to get the exemptions. They didn't accept them. Strong-armed her into it. She did it, and now she's having all these side effects, goes back to the administration, and they say they didn't require her to get it. And now she's left with trying to figure it out. And so it's happening. I know it is.
Well, and what they're telling you, even like the young people, how old was she?
Well, she's in her early 20s.
So early 20s. The younger people, and mostly young men, are highly susceptible to myocarditis. And
Which
they say,
is because, I don't know what that is, and most people have.
well, and they say mild cases, but myocarditis is basically inflammation of the lining of the heart. And it causes scarring.
Yeah.
And in a quote mild case, you could be debilitated. You could be laid up in bed rest and no physical exertion and activity for maybe 6 or 8 months after you've been treated with heavy doses of antibiotics and whatnot to get rid of this inflammation of the heart. So it's not mild.
Right.
When they say that, it's either severe or you're dead. That's the way I would look at it. And some of these numbers here, look at this. Philip, it said here that in January of this year, 2022, 41% of all the deaths, COVID-related, were due to people that were vaccinated.
How many?
41%. So that's awful.
Wow.
But if you compare it, the media would say, yeah, but 59% of all the COVID deaths were the unvaccinated. So then we fast forward just a couple of months here. June, July, and August. Guess what? The number of people that died who were vaccinated as a part of all the people that died from COVID-related illness it went from 41% to 62% in June, 61% in July, 59% in August. That means the majority of people going forward who are dying after they've received their COVID shots. And most particularly, the concern is that fourth shot.
So what you're saying is that people who are getting the vaccination boosters and following up on all these shots, it is increasing the death rate.
Increasing the death.
Their potential.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. Well, if the thing is, the booster shots are only, even if you get the fourth shot, it's only effective for like 2 months. It provides you maybe 20 or 25 or 30% of increased protection. But in the weeks that follow, all of a sudden, that same booster shot is responsible for making you more receptive. So.
So at the end of the day, it's not protecting you, it's exposing you.
Exactly. And far and away, the studies, which there's a growing abundance of studies, and most of them occur in Europe, but in other places, say that the unvaccinated who have natural immunity are far and away more protected, not just against the current variant.
Right.
Now, Delta was dominant, and then Omicron became dominant. The vaccine, even when it was produced, was really only effective against Delta, not very effective against Omicron, and now completely ineffective against the newer variants that are coming out, but they're still telling you to get the shot. Well, these studies are coming out and saying, this is crazy, don't do that. And if you have natural immunity, you actually are more protected against these new variants.
That makes sense.
But in this country, media,
the
government,
they're still not telling us the truth, are they?
No, sir, they're not. And it's really, really distressing to me that they would do that. I've got a couple other things here related to that. Besides Typhoid Mary, we now have not just one Typhoid Mary. We've got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands running all over the country.
Right.
But here's one that's an analysis. People, when you listen to me talking about how dangerous the vaccine is, you have to understand that when I talk about studies, the only studies I look at are the reputable ones. They're either being peer reviewed, they're in renowned medical journals, or they're in that process. I'm not talking about fly-by-night stuff or somebody anecdotally says something on Twitter about how this was bad. I'm talking about the United Kingdom conducting these studies. Israel is the most vaccinated country on the planet, I think.
Right.
Maybe Singapore is close, but
does that mean like population percentage of people who've gotten a vaccine?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Huge numbers. And what they've concluded is that young teenage boys are getting myocarditis.
Wow.
Strong, healthy, athletic, young type people are just dropping over dead. It just, So you're right. And Israel, which again is heavily populated, has decided to put a pause on the process. They say we need to take a better look at our requirements for people of various age groups. It's been known from day one that older people with comorbidities are more likely, when they get COVID, to die from it. A 6-month-old child does not need to be vaccinated to maintain health. A healthy child with no comorbidities has got like a 0.000.
That's a lot of zeros.
Yeah, 25% or 75% chance. It's like 99.997% chance you're going to live, but most of the time you don't even know they ever even got it when the younger you are. So vaccine's bad. The younger you are, vaccines may be helpful if you're going to die anyway.
Right.
As you get to the other end. But look, here's a study: 30,000 vaccinated patients. Breakthrough COVID infections. 6 months later, vaccinated incurred a higher risk of death and debilitating long COVID symptoms involving multiple organs: lungs, heart, kidney, brain, you name it. So, sorry?
So 30,000 patients, right? And so
they've all been vaccinated.
They've all been vaccinated. 6 months later, they are higher risk of death and debilitating long COVID symptoms.
They are.
Wow.
And we ignore that.
Right. Nobody talks about that. They don't want to tell you that. And the reason we're telling you is because we want you to know the truth. We're not trying to scare you. We're not trying to scare you if you've had the vaccine. But what we are trying to help you understand is that there are some big risks, right?
Yep.
And we're not medical doctors. I mean, he's a top-gun pilot, and I'm a part-time pastor, Just kidding.
Well, it's the spin. It's the spin that you get from the CDC. Now the FDA has been politicized, and certainly we know the White House has its opinion about things, and the mainstream media and social media. It's all spin. So what happens here is you get a study like this that says, if you're vaccinated, these are things that are going to happen to you. In the United States, they go, all these things are happening to you because you got COVID. Not because you got vaccinated, because you got COVID.
Right, right. And I've seen this in people's lives. I've seen this, with blood clots and all these different things that start happening that haven't been happening before, right? And so you have to be willing to take action to take care of yourself, but you also have to inform yourself. Be careful. Make wise biblical decisions. If it's not something you have to have, you need to rethink it. All right, welcome back. So I have with me the better looking Linda of Tom and Linda.
You just want that $10 I promised you, don't you?
She's the true expert of us.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, honey, you kissing your mama with those lime lips.
So, and the comedic of all of us. So, Linda, where are we going?
Well, I just want you to know, at 47 years of marriage, I told Tom, ugly comes upon you, but you can still keep laughing. So, well, I appreciate this, and we sure missed you.
Right.
But I want to pick up on something I talked about last show, and then pick up on what you two were talking about, Typhoid Mary.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, from the very beginning of the COVID outbreak, and I'm talking 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, talked about shedding. And she gave all the medical, technical terminology, which I didn't understand, but I got the point of what she was saying, that these, I call them shots, would shed. And in other words, if somebody's been vaccinated and you're around them, you hug them, you got it. Or they breathe on you, you talk in their face, you got it. And but that kind of disappeared and nobody was really talking about it.
Right.
Well, this past week, Tom and I do a lot of research. You'd think we had a life, And but this was put out by, I think it was Epic Times that put this out, but it was Dr. Peter McCullough and John Leake. Now, Peter McCullough, I know for sure, was a part of Senator Ron Johnson's 5.5-hour senatorial hearing on COVID.
Right.
And I just so admire this man. Now, Sherry Tenpenny, I just mentioned, and McCullough, the Medical Association is trying to take their licensing away from them.
Oh boy.
I mean, they want them gone and out of the way.
Right.
We cover them with prayer.
Oh, sure.
Because they're speakers of truth.
Right.
So anyway, they did this article on shedding, and the title was "Why Unvaccinated Are Concerned About Close Contact with the Vaccinated." And they give all of these details, again, technical terminology that I may not understand. I certainly won't bore you with it.
Right.
But in the end, you can see, I'll see if Tom can put it up, but I think you can see they've got a full chart here. And down at the bottom, it says penetration of vaccine products. And it said it has been shown to penetrate transdermally and by inhalation. In other words, you touch somebody that's been vaccinated, you got it. They breathe on you, you've got it. And also orally through breast milk and through placenta.
Okay.
So the mother can pass it on to the child. Now, why is that important for some of us folk? We already know that those that have pre-existing conditions, what's it called?
Premortal, comorbidities.
You and I are dumber than dirt, aren't we? But we're a lot of fun if you give us a chance.
That's right. Well, just mumble your way through it and make it sound intelligent.
Exactly. You heard from God on that one, honey. So, but the thing is that I know that I have some cardiovascular issues.
Right.
And when we know that people are dying,
right,
from it, it's dangerous for me. Now, I continually pray no weapon formed against me is going to prosper. Right. But I'm not going to be stupid on the other hand.
Yes.
And we found out, and this is touchy. I know it's touchy. But, my husband has a mother and 2 sisters. And he loves them.
Right, sure.
They're vaxxed up the wazoo.
Oh.
And so every time he goes over to spend time with them, he comes back, he doesn't feel good the next day. And I finally pointed it out to him. Oh. So it was something he wasn't paying attention to it, or he loves them.
Right.
But man, I got to think twice.
Yeah.
Because I know, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So,
and it goes the opposite way. I actually have a friend who was told she would not be allowed to attend her granddaughter's wedding if she was not up on her shots. And so literally, like checking vaccinations at the door as people are walking in. And the invitation said, if you're coming to the wedding, you got to bring proof of vaccination.
You lying through your teeth.
Right. Wish I was. But the reality is that that's how hyped up people are. And they don't realize what you're saying is that those who are vaccinated, for all of us out here who are living under God's care and, our own immune systems, we're subject to their shedding.
And common sense.
Yeah, common sense.
Exactly.
Where did that go?
Hello.
Right.
Well, this one where, I don't know, but my naturopathy, who I fully believe saved my life and Tom's life, when all these doctors gave me all these, a number of years ago, all these blood tests and couldn't find out what was wrong with me, I knew what was wrong with me. And somebody talked me into going to this naturopathy. I don't do funky stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they said, Linda, he's a Christian, go. So I went. Took them 30, 60 seconds on their funky little machine. I still don't understand, to tell me I had Lyme disease.
Wow.
30 days to get me out of the agony of it, and then about 4 or 5 months to get everything out of me. I trust them.
Right.
And so so I called up one day and I said, talk to the, whatever you want to call it, pharmacy, supplement shop. And I said, do you have anything that can make sure I'm detoxed from, or a test to tell me if I've been, if I have it inside of me. And long story short, the girl said, listen, I went for 2 years from work to my house, from work to my house. And I said, well, what'd you do about food? She said, I had it delivered. I went no place but from work to my house, and I tested all 3 vaccines.
Wow.
In her. Moderna, J&J, what's the other one?
The other one, Pfizer.
Pfizer, yeah.
Right.
She had all 3 of them inside of her. So I didn't need to hear any more.
Right.
From them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we just need to use wisdom, and you need to research, which is something that the 3 of us are trying to emphasize, is just assume we're a bunch of nutcases and don't know what we're talking about. You go research for yourself.
That's right.
And
right, because at the end of the day, we can't tell people what they should do.
Yes.
We're not trying to do that. But what we're saying is that, as a pastor, I care about people.
Yes.
And I see people go through things, and if it is possible for us to inform people, and especially when in this world we're living in, the people that we should be able to trust, they're no longer trustworthy.
That's exactly right.
And it's a sad reality, but this is where we are. And so it's people like us who are willing to, create these kinds of podcasts to bring attention, and in some cases, urgent attention. And this is one of those areas. Yes. The COVID thing has not passed. There will be more variants. There'll be more stuff coming. And what we want to do is we want to have not only an information, but we want to have God's plan. What is God's plan? Well, always, number one, we trust Him with everything. Everything. And that includes our health. The Bible says, I would that you would be whole. You would be in health. He wants us to be in health. He says He forgives all of our iniquities and heals all of our diseases. So He wants us to live in this wholeness. So we go to God and we say, this is what I did in my life. I said, Lord, do I need to, do something regarding this vaccine? Sure, don't take it. And so that was my conviction, and I chose not to take it. Did I get COVID? Yes, I did. But I overcame it, and I got stronger.
Yes.
And I know now I have natural immunity, and that's the way I'm going to live my life. And the Lord has put people in our lives, like these naturopathies and other great doctors who care about people who are not sucked into the system and are controlled by it. They know, and they're telling us.
And have courage.
And they have courage, and they're willing to help us.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's what we need to consider at this point is that, what is the long-term thing that I need to do for myself? And, you pull the trigger and make the decision with courage. If you can't do it with courage, why are you doing it? If you're doing it in fear, watch out.
Exactly. Exactly. No. I'm sorry to say that the church has about 90% of wusses in it.
Yes, right.
We need to have courage.
As one of my friends says, panty-waisted poopsies.
Exactly.
Just not willing to do anything.
We have no comprehension that we are sons and daughters of the Most High God.
That's right. We're lions.
Yes.
Not just sheep. We're lions. We should be giving our voice. We should be roaring in this age, right? Let us roar.
Yes. Oh, honey, good preaching. You ought to preach for a living, you know that? You might be good at it. Well, now this one, I'm begging you. We're always talking about go research. This one just came out, I think, last week. This is a life or death situation we're in, and you must go look at this. It's called Died Suddenly by Stu Peters. Tom will put it up on the screen for you. You can Google it, although I found it on YouTube, believe it or not.
Whoa.
It's on there. But what they did is, in the very beginning, I happened to listen to this funeral director out of UK, out of England. And the essence of it was, is he said that, you know, they knew something wasn't right. Because they were telling people that all these folks were dying, the news media, all these people were dying from COVID, but they weren't seeing it in the funeral directors.
Right.
Yeah, they weren't seeing it. And I heard a nurse say that she was called to 5 different hospitals telling her that it was an epidemic, they were overloaded, get there. And she got there and they'd have 2 or 3 people in the, you know, but the media was telling you. So anyway, I'm particularly interested in the funeral directors. So this one talks to multitude of funeral directors. And they're saying that they have not been able, for folks that were vaccinated, to get the embalming fluid in their veins.
My goodness.
And so they actually show you in this, I know it sounds disgusting, but this is life and death. And they actually show you in the autopsies. You don't see the faces or anything, but they show where they cut open the veins and what they're pulling out of those veins. That's what's causing the strokes, the heart attacks, and all that stuff.
Blood clots. Died Suddenly by Stu Peters. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to watch it today.
Stu Peters. I sent it out a whole bunch of people on messengers, and I got one, a friend of mine, that broke my heart. She said, you know, I cried through the whole thing because my mother-in-law, you know, her daughter, all this, she said, they just can't wait to get the next vaccine, and they won't listen to me.
Right.
They won't listen to me.
Right.
So she's clean, but it is exasperating. In our Monday night prayer group, we have prayed for at least 2.5, 3 years. Expose, expose, expose. And one of the reasons for exposing is at least give us knowledge.
Right.
You know, we're expecting judgment and justice to come from it, but give us knowledge. So this is this is exposing. If you can't understand that this thing is real and it's life and death, after you watch this, call us. We need to pray for you.
Right. Right away.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we've put a lot of attention and focus today on the vaccination because, you know, a lot of people are thinking that the COVID crisis is over. It's not. The reality is that many government employees, many colleges and institutions are still requiring people to get vaccination. And so we're here to tell you, you know, I'm the guy standing by the bridge with his hair standing up and waving a white flag. Don't drive. The bridge is out.
It is out.
And if you keep going, you're going off the hill. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time.